My wife confessed her darkest secret, in Japanese, not knowing I understood. The night my wife let her guard down and spoke in Japanese, she thought she was safe. She didn't know I understood every word. We'd been married 3 years when she finally got pregnant. The news cracked open something in her. 10 years of silence with her mother shattered in one phone call. Her mother, Yumi, came out from overseas to celebrate, and her American father, Tom, was over the moon helping assemble a crib like he was preparing for a grandson he already loved. I pretended not to notice when the kitchen hummed with rapid Japanese. That was the mistake she made. She forgot I wasn't the person she thought I was. I had a long-ago love affair with anime and manga that I'd hidden, embarrassed of the stereotype, and I'd learned the language in secret. When they joked about Ken and the baby, when Yumi said, "What will you do when he finds out it's Ken's baby?" and Eri answered, "He doesn't even know, the idiot," a screwdriver slipped out of my hand and landed at my feet. If you've ever watched too many betrayal videos on TikTok, you know how quickly the script writes itself in your head. I decided, stupidly and perfectly, to play the grieving husband. The more theatrical I was, the more ammunition they gave me. I left my laptop open to parenting sites, I read baby books where they could see, I cried on cue. When we watched a subtitled anime and I laughed at a Japanese pun, Eri's head snapped up. "Why are you laughing?" she asked. I said something about slapstick, let the moment pass. She assumed I was clueless. She assumed she was safe. Then I started planning. A promotion at work gave me a bonus figure. I announced like a gift, "I'm getting a $15,000 bonus." The shock on Eri's face was exactly what I needed. Later, overhearing her mother whisper in Japanese about more, how they could extract more from me, I realized this wasn't a one-time betrayal. It was a pattern: lie, use, move on. I hired a private investigator. The PI found Ken, or whoever he was, and he wasn't remotely interested in being a father. I booked a consultation with a lawyer, then arranged a pregnancy celebration at our place that would, conveniently, include alcohol and relatives who always talk too loud when they're half in the bag. I made sure the house felt warm and normal, and I listened while they laughed and joked about me behind my back in a language I knew well. Eri bragged about how she'd do it again. If I got pregnant again, I'd do the same thing. She thought privacy and language would shield her. It didn't. I installed a security system, yes, with audio, because I wanted a record of everything. I recorded family gatherings on my phone. I saved conversations, timestamped them, translated sections that mattered, and labeled each file like evidence in a cold, clinical library of betrayal. I didn't give in to the urge to confront. I built the case. My lawyer, Dana Whitman, took everything seriously. Her office smelled like office supply stores and coffee stains. She moved through my files like a surgeon. She warned me that secretly recorded conversations could be sticky in court, depending on the state, and might even backfire if used as revenge theater. Use them as a map, she said, not as the whole case. That pragmatism humored and irritated me at once. I had wanted a courtroom confession, a dramatic reveal. She wanted paperwork, witnesses, and financial records. She wanted me to win a fight that wasn't just about humiliation but about legal protection. So I did what she suggested. I opened a new bank account in another branch and quietly transferred half our joint savings, a little over $11,000, into it. I started a spreadsheet and logged every purchase that had anything to do with the pregnancy. I printed receipts, collected statements, and tracked patterns of spending. When I overheard Eri talking in Japanese about moving money into Yumi's account just in case, I checked our accounts the next day. Evidence is a patient thing, it grows if you feed it facts. I followed tracks in more ways than one. Late-night video calls appeared in the router logs at the times I was asleep. I sent screenshots to Dana, who traced an IP to an apartment complex and gave me a name, Ken, or Jason, depending on what he told his friends. He had a gym selfie, a dog, a sales job, and no idea his life was about to get complicated. I kept that file in the same folder as the name of the man who had been living in my marriage. I also kept myself from snapping. I started therapy with Dr. Lee, who asked me the hard question, are you gathering this to heal or to hurt? I didn't have an answer at first. The urge for a spectacular reveal, to make Aries' family feel what I felt, was real. But Dr. Lee's quiet voice chipped away at it, what will feel like freedom, and what will feel like revenge? It was the difference between building something new and stoking a fire that keeps you warm by burning down the house you live in. There were also practical things. I rented a storage unit and moved my parents' albums, the letters my dad had written my mom, a few heirlooms. I didn't take baby stuff. That felt like a symbolic line I couldn't cross. I kept collecting documentation, and I arranged the legal sequence Dana recommended, separation, then a paternity challenge after the birth, then protection for my finances. When the day finally came that I confronted Aries, I let her speak until she had nothing left to say. I told her exactly what I planned to do. I told her I wouldn't sign paternity documents without DNA proof. She pleaded, she cried, she offered counseling. I listened. I left my money for our coffees on the counter and walked out. I contacted Ken through Dana. He needed time. He said he'd speak to his lawyer. 2 days later he told Dana he was processing it, apologetic and stunned. I contacted Ken through Dana. He needed time. He said he'd speak to his lawyer. 2 days later he told Dana he was processing it, apologetic and stunned. He wasn't the enemy I'd imagined, he was a person caught in a messy human story. The enemy, I realized, wasn't him. It was the betrayal and the normalization of using someone else for comfort and cash. 2 months later I was in a modest one-bedroom apartment across town. The divorce was a slow, legal tide and therapy was a constant. Dr. Lee helped me separate grief from rage, Dana handled the paperwork with professional calm. I enrolled in a Japanese class at the community college, not to hide anymore, but because I wanted to reclaim a part of myself I had once been ashamed of. I told my classmates the story, and they didn't gasp or laugh, they followed me on social media and offered kind words. Tom, Aries' father, and I started meeting for coffee. There's a quiet, complicated respect between us now. 2 men who had lost a shared illusion and found an honest companionship instead. Some days I'm angry, some days I'm numb. Some nights I still wake up with the old hurt sharp in my chest. But I don't live under the weight of his mockery anymore. I'm not pretending to be someone I'm not. I'm rebuilding a life from facts, therapy, and small, steady choices. I don't tell this story for sympathy. I tell it because it's mine, an ordinary sort of extraordinary betrayal that, somehow, becomes the story you tell when you're learning how to be honest again. If anything, the strangest part is that I found a long-hidden part of myself in the wreckage, a language I'd been hiding for years, and finally, the courage to own it.